What's up everyone, Scott the TroutHammer here. We're back with another top 5 lures series video for this channel. Now this one I've been saving because this one's kind of special. This one's got a little bit of a story behind it, but also there's something specific with this one, this top 5 lures video, and you'll hear that at the end of the video. If you guys are new to the channel, I got a whole playlist of these top 5 videos I've done. If you guys want to see those, click that link that's going to be above my head. I don't just talk about my top 5 favorite lures of a certain category or whatever theme the video is for. I actually talk about how I use it and where I use it, when I use it, things like that. I try to educate you with lures also. But before we get too far into it, I'm going to ask you guys, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get this channel to grow to 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to do that. So if you could, please hit that subscribe button down there, that notify bell up there, so you're going to be the first to see all the great content that's going to come from this channel. I'm also doing shout-outs to new subscribers on the video I record on Saturdays, and I'm doing giveaways on this channel, so if you guys want to get in on those, you know what button to press.
Yep, you saw me. There you go, guys. That's a fish. There we go, guys. That's unreal! Oh, this is such an awesome looking fish. Oh, yeah! Alright, guys, check that out.
So the story behind this one, as you probably could tell from the title, is it's Lucky Tackle Box themed. So I recently decided to cancel my subscriptions with Lucky Tackle Box, and Lucky Tackle Box was such a great part of this channel because it introduced me to new things. It gave me a chance to, do something I love doing, explain stuff on the fly. I know it gained a number of viewers from Lucky Tackle Box, and I'm actually glad that, a lot of you guys stuck around after I decided to cancel the subscriptions. But, I wanted to do this last month, but I wanted to save it for something special. Like I said, I'll talk about at the end of the video, but I wanted to talk about my top 5 favorite Lucky Tackle Box finds. Now, by finds, that doesn't mean the top 5 favorite lures that I got from Lucky Tackle Box. That would be way too expensive, I'm sorry. But it's the top 5 things that I got from Lucky Tackle Box that I never used before, stuff that I never knew existed before, like didn't know it was even a lure available to purchase, and got to use them, and they became some of my favorite lures, some of my staples in my tackle box that I take with me when I go fishing. Now, when I had my Lucky Tackle Box subscriptions, I had a subscription to the Bass Box, and I had a subscription to the Panfish Box. So I'm picking my favorites that I got from both of those subscriptions. My number 5 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find is the California Classic Delta Frog. So this was a smaller topwater frog than the ones I use normally. I usually use like coppers, live targets. I usually use the KVD Sexy Frog. So this is a much smaller frog than the ones I've been using. But the effectiveness of this frog I found was a lot higher than a lot of the frogs I used. I mean, I use this thing so much you can already see it's missing an eye. It's already got some scratches off the paint by the hooks from the number of fish I've caught with it. But what I loved about this frog, number one, it had the most natural color pattern to frogs that live in my area of the Willamette Valley. So a lot of the places I fished at, bass are already eating frogs that look exactly like this. For how small this lure is, it actually has a pretty good amount of weight to it, and it was pretty aerodynamic. I could just bomb this thing out. I was emptying my spool on some cast fishing with this thing, and I can't say I've done that with other frogs I've fished with. But also something with the shape is the shape of this frog, the way it sort of has this like teardrop shape to it. When you twitch this thing in the water, when you do sort of like a walk the dog action like you normally would with a topwater spook or with a walking frog, this thing didn't so much go side to side. This thing had this like dive action, and it would shoot up out of the water and then sit again. And something about that, I noticed that, especially in my area in the shallow water, when the bass can see a frog do that over and over again, is something they don't normally see frog lures do. That made this thing special. When you fish areas that a lot of people are going to fish with frogs, like shallow water, a lot of vegetation, a lot of times bass get used to seeing the same thing over and over again. This was something completely different. I've used this thing so much, and I've been using this thing so much that I actually had to cut it off of my frog rod to show it for this video. This is probably now like I probably go back and forth with this being my either number 1 or number 2 frog lure that I have that I use, but it's definitely my number 5 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find. My number 4 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find comes from the Panfish Box, and it's probably something you're not going to expect. It's the Mustad Mr. Crappie Jig Head. Now, before finding this jig head, I actually pretty much exclusively stuck to the BMC jigs. But this one here, this 1/16 ounce jig head, I found that I was using this a lot more for my swim baits and for my smaller grubs because, for one, that the eye where you rig into the jig head is offset, kind of like a shaky head, and I went, all right, I'll start using this like a shaky head, and boy, did it make a difference. For the size of jig, it's actually got a pretty large size hook, so I got plenty of hook point exposed for whenever I fish for a crappie or bigger panfish. And that light wire, surprisingly, I mean, when I first rigged something on this, I thought that wire was going to break. No, that wire holds up real well. It actually helps make it easier to rig up plastics on this thing. Kind of has that ribbed keeper there behind the jig head, and I love those ribbed keepers because they don't tear up the plastic. They hold the plastic on pretty well, but if you're going to change a plastic and you want to use the one that you've been using again, you know, that ribbed keeper is going to allow you to use that plastic again. It doesn't rip it apart. And I think this one is the 1/8 ounce jig head. It's either 1/8 or 1/16 ounce, but basically it's heavier than the ones I've been using. I usually stick to 1/64 ounce or 1/32 ounce at the heaviest when I fish for panfish. But this is the one that really brought me into bigger panfish jigging. You know, it's my number 4 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find because I ended up using this a lot more than a lot of the other jigs that I've been using for almost a decade. So yeah, this definitely became a staple in my tackle box. My number 3 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find is back from the bass box, and it's from the first bass box I ever got from Lucky Tackle Box. It's the Riot Baits Fuzzy Beaver. This thing, this little plastic. There is no plastic that I've gotten from Lucky Tackle Box that I've repurchased and bought like the same color, same size, because of how much I use them, more than the Riot Baits Fuzzy Beaver. Great thing about this is that, you know, the size of it, it's that perfect in the middle size that it can catch small fish, it can catch big fish. I caught 2-pound smallmouth on this. I caught 1/2-pound smallmouth on this. It appeals to just about any size of fish. But this might be my number 1 creature lure, period, after getting this, because, I mean, look at this thing. This thing is just designed to make noise. The whole body is just ribs to displace water. Each one of these little appendages has sort of like a nub on the end to catch water and make more noise. These like auxiliary appendages behind the claws sort of look like a Kitech noisy flapper, just, you know, phalanges on every side to kick and make noise. And then the main claws on the end have sort of like these big phalanges like the Guggenbaits do or Rage Tails do, that those things catch water, kick back and forth. This is just one of the noisiest lures I've used for a plastic. I mean, I've come to rely on this lure so much that I keep one Texas rigged in my tackle box just in case the conditions call for it and I want to switch to this. I have one that I can just tie the leader on and just get to it. So this right here is the Koosh color. So this is sort of like a pale green, purple on either side, and it has these light blue and black flakes throughout it. There's other colors, but I mean, I've been sticking to this color, and this color is yet to fail me. So you guys know, for reference to that body size, it is just big enough for a 2/0 EWG hook. You know, it's versatile, it's faithful, it is my number 3 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find. My number 2 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find is back from the Panfish box. It is the Southern Pro Tackle Tiny Worm. So I've got 2 colors that they sent me. One chartreuse, you know, Oregon, chartreuse is the trigger color, and one that was pink and turned sort of an orangish color, but still catches a fish. So here's the thing about this tiny worm. This is the real story behind this tiny worm, why it's my number 2 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find. Do you know how hard it was to get me to switch to something away from the 2-inch curly-tailed grub? For how much I love that as a panfish lure? I've been using this more this year than I did the 2-inch curly-tailed grub last year. This might be my new favorite panfish plastic, and I'm not kidding when I say that. Best things about this lure, number 1, it's got the ribbed body that it displaces more water, it kicks more water out, and makes more noise. But the shape and the limberness of this lure, it gives you so many options to rig this thing. I think this thing is just barely limber enough that you could take like a size 6 mosquito hook and you can wacky rig this thing and it would run just fine like a wacky rig. And that tail that is on this plastic, it is just enough of a paddle tail that when you just slow retrieve this thing, it kicks and swims back and forth. It turns into a swim bait. But also, it's the perfect diameter and limberness for when you want to dance your lure, and that's really the trigger cadence for crappie. Is you put this on I put this on a 1/32 ounce jig head, and what you do is you sort of dance the tip of your ultralight rod as you retrieve it, and it kicks back and forth, and it that tail is just going absolutely crazy in the water. That's something that actually triggers crappie into striking, is seeing a lure just sort of like in distress dancing like that near the bottom. But even my favorite tactic for catching panfish is just rigging something weightless on like a size 8 mosquito hook or a size 8 octopus hook and just casting it underneath a bush and just letting it fall naturally. Is that body profile with those like 6 little appendages right there on the arms almost looks like a grub or a silkworm falling out of a tree. I mean, the options you have to rig this thing up and to retrieve this thing, the conditions you can use this thing in, and the, you know, any water depth. I was using this thing in March all the way through now in October, still catching fish with it. It's one of the more versatile plastics I've ever been introduced to. And I actually want to use these lures into the winter to see how they work on trout in the winter. So yeah, this is definitely my #1 favorite find that came from the panfish box from Lucky Tackle Box, and overall my #2 favorite find from Lucky Tackle Box. My #1 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find really shouldn't be a surprise if you guys are longtime viewers of this channel because of how much I use these plastics, but it is the Rage Tail Cutter Worm from Strike King. So this thing is a Cenko, basically. It's a plastic stick bait, but that paddle tail, that Rage Tail paddle tail on the back, it actually outfishes Cenkos in Oregon, at least in my experience. You know, the cutter worm, I'll talk about the cutter worm first real quick. You know, this is the kind of thing that you could Texas rig, and, you know, you have the options of just jigging it like you normally would with a Texas rig, or you could just straight retrieve this thing and swim, and it sort of has a really small bait fish profile, because that tail just, it's so easy to get that tail to kick. But for plastics that make noise, there honestly really is no comparing to the Strike King Rage Tails, and this is the plastic that introduced me to Strike King Rage Tails. And as you guys can tell, it became my favorite line of bass plastic. One of my favorite things about the Rage Tail that is besides the tail, and something that I wish more soft plastic lure companies would put into their plastic, is they put that sort of groove, that trench on the top and bottom. It makes this thing so much easier to rig, so much easier to line up, and you can keep that hook point buried in that trench, so you have the hook point exposed, and it's weedless. So you hook up you increase your hookup ratio on fish, and you stay weedless at the same time. But also, this is my favorite plastic to Nico rig, and it's because it makes it so much easier to put like a wacky ring on here, like you guys have seen the wacky tools where you put that little rubber band on there. I made a video talking about the Nico rig. You guys can go back on my channel and check that out. But with that groove in there, you can put that ring around that groove, and then you put the hook in there, and you're hooked up onto the ring. You're going to stay rigged onto the plastic and not destroy the plastic. I mean, I just think that's, you know, the thoughtfulness and the innovation that went into that really, really impressed me. One of my favorite things about the cutter worm that makes it so much better than Cenkos in my mind is they seem to have found the perfect marriage between how soft the plastic is and how durable the plastic is. I mean, we all know with the Yamasenkos, you use them once and they're done, but you don't have, I mean, they're so much more effective than other plastics out there. I know they're more effective than the Yum Dingers, they're more effective than even the Smart Bait one that I was using, that I was landing plenty of big fish on just this weekend. But the Rage Tail Cutter Worm just seems to blend the best of both worlds together. It has the sink rate and the fall rate of those Yamasenkos, but so much more durable. You can use these things a lot longer. Again, in my area, largemouth, smallmouth gets the job done. It was my #1 favorite find from the bass box from Lucky Tackle Box, and overall my #1 favorite Lucky Tackle Box find because, as I said, it introduced me to the Rage Tail line of plastics, which have become my favorite bass plastics overall. So there you guys go. Those are my top 5 favorite Lucky Tackle Box finds. Now here's the thing I was saying at the start of the video, that why this thing was special is why I was saving it, is because I just finished a round of giveaways. I need a new round of giveaways. I need something to give away. This is what the giveaway is going to be. Everything that I just talked about in this video is going to be the next giveaway prize, which also means, surprise, this is the first video where you guys can qualify for the giveaway. So I did like a lot better how last time I had the giveaway round extend longer. 2 weeks, it seemed like too short of a time crunch for the giveaway, and I liked it a lot better with the 3-week because, #1, my video frequency is going to decrease with winter approaching. I'm not going to be able to make as many videos as I want because I'm not going to be able to get out and fish as much as I want. But also it gives you, my viewers, more chances to win because every time you guys qualify in a video, you get added into the drawing. So how do you qualify for the giveaway? You guys need to, 1, like this video, 2, subscribe to the channel, and 3, Let me know in the comments below what you thought about my top 5 Lucky Tackle Box finds, and or let me know if you guys had Lucky Tackle Box, what your 5 favorite Lucky Tackle Box finds are. And again, I'm trying to get this channel to grow to 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to do that, so if you could please hit that subscribe button down there, that notify bell up there, so you're going to be the first to see all the great content that's going to come from this channel. And if your account setting is on public, I can read your name and I'll give you a shout out in my Saturday video, and also subscribing will get you entered in giveaways. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, tips up, tight lines, and have fun fishing.